Okay, hello and welcome to the Ferguson Library Presents Microsoft Office Suite Integrated. So this is the kind of the pinnacle of our Microsoft Office curriculum here at the Ferguson Library. We've gone through Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, and Excel, and now we're kind of looking at the ways to kind of use all of these tools together. So thank you again for joining me today. This was a rescheduled class from last Thursday because of some issues I had, technology issues I had last week. So kind of moving forward, everything else should be kind of on schedule. The last class on this week's schedule is our Introduction to Web Building, HTML, and CSS, which will be Thursday at the same time from 2 to 4. So before we get started, let me just kind of go over some of the things here with the YouTube platform and kind of streaming with the class here. So first up, while I'm kind of going over this here and before we start the class, you'll probably want to go to this website up here, fergusonlibrary.org/online-tech-classes. And that will be all of the online classes. Here, let me show you what this will look like. It'll take you to this page here. This has all of our information about our online technology classes, including the class schedule. If you've missed any of our past classes, I have links to all of the recordings on our YouTube channel here, as well as the link to our upcoming class here. Scrolling down for this class, you'll see that there's all these different tabs for the variety of different classes. You'll want to go to Microsoft Office Integrated, and there will be a bunch of different handouts here that you'll want to download. One of them is going to be the exercise handout that will have all of the information. That's this document here. And then let me get back to where I was. And then we're going to have some handout exercise files that are going to have what we're going to be working, basically the files that we're going to be working with through the course of the class. So on YouTube, if you have any questions or anything to say during the course of the class, please send it to the YouTube chat. I will see it, and when I figure there's a good time to stop and answer the question, I will go back and answer the question that you have on there. What you're seeing is a little bit lagged from what I'm presenting here, so send your question and I will see it. There'll be a good time to see it at that point there. Now, since most of you are probably watching this on one screen and then you want to go do the exercises in your own version of Microsoft Office, you'll have to kind of change windows on there. So it's kind of hard to follow along with what I'm doing while trying to do this at the same time. So the general thing I've been doing is I've been showing the skill that we've been working on, and then I will give between 3 to 5 minutes for you to go off and do it yourself in your own Microsoft Office installation. This is a good time to ask questions because I'm just sitting here waiting for everybody to kind of do things before we continue. So it's a good time to ask a question and I can go over something again. Don't hesitate to ask questions. I love them. They help kind of keep this class going. So this is Microsoft Office Suite Integrated. Some of the stuff you should know coming into this class already is you should know how to navigate Windows files and directories, because we'll be kind of just going around kind of opening up files, closing files, opening up new files, how to open and save documents in Microsoft Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, how to insert tables and other objects into Microsoft Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, how to create tables and charts in Microsoft Excel, and how to organize information in Microsoft Excel. These are all things that have been covered in our earlier classes, and so they're not things that I'm going to really kind of go over very much through this class here. If there seems to be something that I might need to explain that kind of covers those, I will, but those are things that you should already know coming into this class. What we are going to cover in this class is that we're going to look at the differences between embedding and linking data in Microsoft Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. So there's two different ways to kind of get content from one piece of software to another. We're going to look at the differences and the pros and cons of each different type of kind of content transfer. And then we're going to look at Mailmerge. So the second half of this class is going to look at the whole Mailmerge function, and we're going to look at how to create mailing labels using data entered in Microsoft Excel, and then we're also going to look at how to use Mailmerge to create a set of personalized letters. So with all of that, if everybody has downloaded the handouts, we can continue and we will dive right into the class. I can't open up the second Word file. Let me see. There should the second Word or the second Excel file. This one here, the Mailmerge, or the one that's down here, the handout, the exercise Word file. Let me see. might have the wrong... Oh, yeah, I actually probably have the wrong address on there. Hold on. Let me fix that quickly here. So let me just kind of fix that quickly. Apparently I made a mistake when I was putting together the class stuff last week. So actually, I'm going to go to a quick be right back and kind of get the music playing again, and then when it's all set, I'll be back and let you know. So stay tuned. All right, sorry about that. I apparently did not copy all of the exercise or all of the address there properly for the file. So now if you refresh the window, it should be the correct link now. Yes, it looks like it's working for me. Okay, sorry about that. This is what happens when I try to do a bunch of stuff at one time. Okay, so let us move into and start looking at what we're going to be working with. So we're going to start by looking at linking and embedding data. So there's two different ways to get content from one. Usually what happens is you generally get stuff from Excel into like Word or PowerPoint to do for a report or a presentation. And there's two different ways that can happen. There is embedding. And so embedding is a static activity. So what happens is you almost take a snapshot of whatever the data is or the chart, and you bring it over to like Word or PowerPoint, you put it in there, and it will not change. It will not update. If you ever make any changes to that data going forward, you'll have to actually go in and re-embed it into your Word or PowerPoint document. Linking is dynamic, which means that if you do a link between one file and another and you bring the content over from Excel into Word or PowerPoint, it will change automatically. The key thing with linking though is that you have to make sure those files kind of stay together. That the Word file is still able to call home to the Excel file in order to be able to get that information. Embedding means they don't have to be connected. There's no connection in between the two files, and you can just send the Word file or the PowerPoint file on, and you don't have to worry about the original Excel file. So those are kind of a little bit of the pros and cons between the two things. This is just kind of an explanation, but I can actually go in. It's easier to kind of demonstrate so we can kind of see how it works. So with that there, we are going to start, and let me move over to my demo screen. We're going to start by looking at the first Excel file that we downloaded there, which is the linked data exercise, XLSX. So all it is just a quick, easy table over here, and then a chart made from this here. So what we're going to do to embed information from Excel into Word, we're going to actually take this table here, the no obstacles support division, and we're going to embed this into a Word document. And it's really as simple as cut and paste or copy and paste. We could cut it, but we don't, in case we want to keep it here, we're going to copy and paste. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight and select the table. So I'm going to start up from the top left corner, click and drag down to the bottom right corner. And then I'm going to come up here to the top right into my clipboard on my ribbon here, and I'm just going to click copy. This is the same thing as if I hit Control C or if I right click and choose copy from the right click menu. Do whatever method you prefer. And then I'm going to go over to Microsoft Word. And so I have Microsoft Word opened here in the Backstage view. I'm going to open up a blank document. And I'm going to come up here to the top left of my ribbon again, where I have the clipboard here. And I'm just going to click the paste button. As you can see, with like most things in Microsoft Office on the ribbon there, with a lot of things on the Microsoft Office ribbon, paste is a two-part button. The top part is your just default paste. It's the same thing as if you hit Control V or right-click paste. The bottom part gives you some more options, paste options on there. We'll be looking at that in just a second, but right now what we want to do is we're just going to click this top part of the button up here where it says paste. I'm going to click that there, and you can see it's come over and it's dropped, and I'm going to zoom in. I couldn't zoom in because I didn't have this open before. There we go. It's come in and it's dropped the table looking exactly like the Excel table right here into our PowerPoint or into our Word here, into our Word document. And if I kind of shrink this down so you can kind of see them next to each other, so you can see it actually pretty much is a direct copy from one to the other and such. So it was really easy. It was copy and paste from Excel into Word. Now this is an embedded table. So what does that mean? So actually what I'm going to do is I am going to shrink down Excel here, and let's put these side by side. And we want to go here. There we go. So I've put these here side by side next to each other so we can just kind of see comparison from one to the other about like what happens when I do something. So I'm going to come back here to Excel, and I'm just going to change one of these numbers, for example. So I'm going to take this April in Europe here, and I'm going to change this to 150 and hit enter. You can see it's done all the tables and everything such. If I go over here and look at April in Europe, it hasn't changed. So the changes that I made over here in my Excel document do not happen here at my Word document. If I come over here to Word and say I change April in Asia to 300, you can see actually it doesn't change over here at Excel. It only changes it over here. So that's where that embedding, that static nature of embedding exists. Once I've copied and once I've pasted it over here into Word, it becomes its own separate table. It's no longer the same table that it was in Excel, which means the data here is independent of the data over here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give you about 3 minutes. Go and copy. So in your Excel document, you're going to copy the table. So highlight it, choose copy, open up a new Word document, and just paste it into the Word document. I'll give you about 3 minutes to work on that there, and then we'll kind of continue looking at kind of some of the differences in this embedded table. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you. Okay, just about another minute. Let me know if you have any questions. All right, so now everybody should have copied their table from Excel over into Word. And I hope you did practice kind of just changing some numbers in one or the other to kind of see what happens. Some of the other things to kind of notice is that if I come back over here to Excel and I change, say, a value here, you can see actually down here the total updates, the graph, you can actually see the little spike on the graph happen over there. So the math and kind of all of kind of the different cool Excel stuff that's happening in here and such is still happening. Now if I come over here and do the same thing, here's April, Europe, I'm going to change this 100 here to 300 to match what I put over onto the other side over here. You'll notice that the total down here doesn't change. Plus there's no graph to kind of see the differences. First document is the advanced word class document. Oh, wow, I really didn't do things properly. Thanks. You know what? Let me send the. Let me actually quickly send the. I'll put the link in the chat for the correct file. Sorry about this. Oop, I went to the wrong place here. So yeah, let me quickly share the link in the chat, and anybody who's watching this recording in the future, these links should all be correct. Going forward. Media. Okay, so yeah, so it's right here. This here should be the link to go and download the exercise for the integrated document. Thanks for keeping me honest on this. All right, so okay, yeah, so you can see like the math. So when you embed from one to the other, you lose those math functions, and this year just basically becomes a standard Microsoft Word table. Remember when we created tables in Intermediate Word? This year behaves just that same way there. So it doesn't have, so it has those limited Word functions, but they don't transfer over from Excel. So as I said, when you embed something from Excel into Word, it's kind of a snapshot. So it's a snapshot of the data that you're copying at that time and moving it over. And you just lose a lot of the functionality that Excel had when you were embedding that in there. Now let's look at another example of embedding. In this case, what we're going to do is we're going to embed the chart or the graph here in Excel into a PowerPoint document. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to minimize, actually we're going to open up PowerPoint. I should have had it open before, but I didn't. So we're going to open up a blank presentation in PowerPoint, just like we had a blank presentation or a blank Word document. I'm going to come here and I'm going to do a new blank slide, simply because I like to work on blank slides. How I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same kind of shrinking down that I did there. There we go. So we have these side by side with each other. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on my chart here. I'm going to click on the outside edge of the chart, and you can see I have it selected now by the handles that go around there. And just like before, I'm going to copy. I'm going to click the little copy button for my ribbon up here. And I'm going to come over here to PowerPoint, and I'm going to click the paste button right up here on the ribbon. There, in the top left, there's a paste button. I'm going to click paste, and it drops the table in there. I'm going to get rid of the design ideas. Go away. So once you bring the chart from Excel into PowerPoint over here, you can then resize it. You can treat it like you treat any other object in Excel or in PowerPoint. You can resize it. You can move it around wherever you need to go. It's pretty flexible as an object in PowerPoint. You'll notice that on here, the colors are a little bit different than they were over here. So it didn't exactly bring over, which is kind of interesting that it did that there. But I think Over here, it's trying to match it to the theme that I have currently set, or whatever the default theme in PowerPoint is. But overall, you can still see it's a very similar looking graph to what we have over here. Now, the copy and paste from Excel into PowerPoint, it is embedded, which means that this is, again, that static snapshot, but there is a caveat to that there. For the time that I still have this PowerPoint presentation open, and I still have Excel open, so while I still have these both open, it's actually a linked chart. So that means that a change that I make in Excel, so if I come over here to Excel, and we're going to change this this 300, the one that I did that created the spike here, I'm going to change this back to 100. And you can see that that spike disappeared over here, and you can see over in PowerPoint that same spike disappeared. If I go and make a change, so I'm going to change we're going to change this here to say 4,000 to make a really big spike that really changes the graph. And you can see over here, it does that same thing. It makes that same change from one to the other. If I undo that, it kind of brings everything back to normal here. So while they are both open, they are linked, which means that you can continue to make changes in Excel and they'll show up in your PowerPoint presentation. So I'm going to give you about another 3 minutes. Go and copy the PowerPoint or the chart from the Excel document from the linked data exercise into a new PowerPoint slide. So we're going to do that again by you click on the outside edge of the chart so you get the handles going around, and I'll move this over so it's a little bit easier to see that it's all around. You're going to hit copy up here in the top left on the ribbon. And then you're going to go over to PowerPoint, you're going to create a new slide or whatever slide that you're in, and you're going to click the paste button right up here, and it'll just paste it in. And then spend a little bit of time, resize it, move it around, come back to Excel, change some of the data over in Excel, and kind of see how it affects one to the other. In about 3 minutes, we'll go back and we'll look at we'll look at this idea a little bit further of how Excel and PowerPoint are working. Let me know if you have any questions. All right. So has everybody copied over the chart from their PowerPoint presentation over to their or from the Excel into their PowerPoint presentation? Now I'm going to show you. So what happens, as I mentioned right now, is they are temporarily linked, and I demonstrated how changing one is going to change the other. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to go and I'm going to save my PowerPoint presentation. And I'm just going to go throw it onto my desktop. into here. I'm just going to save it as presentation 1. I'm not going to do a lot there. So now that it's saved, I'm going to actually close it. And the reason for that there is by doing that, and I'm going to reopen up PowerPoint now, by saving and closing it. So you've spent some time working on your presentation, and you're done for the day for this. So you save it, you close it, and you come back the next day, and now I'm going to reopen it up again. So here's my chart again sent over, and the reason I did that there is to show that once you save and close the PowerPoint presentation, is the link between PowerPoint and Excel is now broken. So if I come back over here into Excel, and let's go and change this 100 here again to 300. So it creates that spike here again in the graph. You can kind of see the spike get created over here, but it no longer creates it over here in PowerPoint. So what happens now is that the link between this chart here in Excel and this chart over here in PowerPoint no longer exists. So it existed while they were open, but then as soon as I closed PowerPoint, they no longer are connected to each other. So now this has become an embedded chart over here. So it's a snapshot of the chart at the time that I closed PowerPoint. If I wanted to take the updated chart that I have over in Excel, I would have to copy and paste the chart and move it over just like I did before in order to get the update. And at that time, they'll be linked again until I save and close PowerPoint. Does that make sense to everybody? So that is basically what embedding does. Embedding allows you to take a snapshot of information that you have in Excel and put it into Word if you're doing like a report that you're trying to put your data or your charts into, or into PowerPoint. So I can put the table over here and put it over there. PowerPoint works a little differently when it comes to the embedding, is that it will be temporarily linked. It can temporarily be updated automatically until you save and close it. Now, what happens if you do want to keep that link between the two files even when you save and close the file and reopen it? You want that to be able to still be kind of updated automatically, and that's where you want to use linking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to minimize my PowerPoint here, just so we're looking at our Word and our Excel again. And we're going to go back to our Word document, and I'm just going to come down to kind of a new blank area. I'm just hitting Enter a couple times until I'm kind of in a new blank area down here. I'm going to go back to my Excel file over here, and I'm going to start off the exact same way that I did with the embedding of the table. So we're going to take this table over here, and we're going to actually link it over into our Word document this time. I'm going to start off the exact same way that I did before. I'm going to highlight my table, what I want to be able to take from Excel and put into Word. I'm going to copy it, just like I did before. The first steps of either process is exactly the same. Now when I come over to Word, I'm going to come back up to this paste button, just like I did before, but instead of clicking on the top default paste like I did before, I'm going to click on the bottom part where I'm going to be able to open up the paste options. So I'm going to click Open Paste, and I'm going to come down, and we have all the different types of paste that you can do here, but then right here at the next to last item on the menu here is this Paste Special. And so this is what we're going to do. So we actually want to do a special paste here. So I'm going to click on Paste Special, and it will open up the Paste Special box. And now you notice actually in the Paste Special box, right over here on the left, there are two options connected by a radio button. There's Paste, which is the standard default copy and paste operation. Then there's also Paste Link. There's that linking. So I'm going to come down where it says Paste Link. Now, Microsoft Office is reasonably intelligent when it comes to its own file formats and looking at the data that you're working with. So Microsoft Word knows right now that I have sitting in the clipboard a Microsoft Excel table, something from a Microsoft worksheet. And so it actually gives me that option right up here on the top. So I have all these different kind of links that I can do here, but what I want to do is this one up here at the top where it says Microsoft Excel Worksheet Object. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to hit OK. And so what it does now is it's brought over the table from Excel. You can see actually it looks slightly different than the table that we originally copied before. This one here actually has, you can actually see the grid lines showing up in here. But for the most part, it looks pretty close. If I bring this up here, you can kind of see it looks pretty close to the one that I had over here at Excel originally. The difference between the two tables here in Word, and actually what I'm going to do is, yes, the difference between these two tables here is, remember in this word here, this is the top one, the first one that I embedded in here, if I clicked, I can change the numbers here, and they didn't affect over here. Now, when I click on the table, so back down to the one that I just linked, when I click on this here, you'll notice that I can't click into the table. If I click in any place, it doesn't put a cursor in there. It doesn't allow me to do any edits. You'll notice that it's surrounded by this little box with the handles, just as if I inserted a picture. And that's really what this is. It's kind of ironic that I describe the embedding as a snapshot when this is actually like an image. This is actually, it's not even an image. This is like a window. Like what this did when I pasted this link here is it cut a window into Word that looks into Excel. So I can't actually change these numbers in Word over here. But if I come over here to Excel and I say change this to let's change this back to 100 and hit enter. You can see over here this updated automatically to show that change. If I do something like really drastic, we're going to change this 120 here to say 10,000. Just kind of a big change, and you can see over here this updated as well too. In addition, the total updated, the average change, the total down here, because all of the math that is working over here in Excel is still working here because this is just a window to what this is doing over there. Now, I can also, so I'm actually going to undo, taking that back to what it was before. And you can see this updated again. Now, one of the nice things about a linked table like this here is that if I double click on this, it will automatically open up in Excel over here and select the table that I'm working at. So there's a really, in fact, actually, if I close the Excel, I'm actually going to, I will save it. If I double click on this here, so I've closed Excel. I don't have Excel open. I double click on that. It will reopen Excel. It will reopen that Excel file. So that link from one to the other basically allows me from Word to reach in and open up Excel and be able to work with the data that I'm working with over here. Move that back over. There we go. So that is so that's what the link allows me to do. Now, what happens with the file if I actually, let me see what the exercise is going here. A special, okay, yeah, so what happens if you change data in Excel, try to change it in Microsoft Word. Okay, yep. So now what happens is I'm going to save my Word file, because one of the things now that these are linked together is that you do have to keep these files together, or at least in the same places. So I'm going to file, and I'm going to save my Word document. And I'm just going to save it on my desktop. Actually, I'm going to save it here. We're just going to call it noobstacles.doc. Actually, before I go on and demonstrate this here and such, let me give you about 3 minutes to go and link your Excel table into Word. So what you'll do, let me just walk through the steps here again so that you can practice yourself, is you're going to go to your Excel document, just like you started before. You're going to highlight the table that just like you had before. You're going to copy it, so you're going to use the copy button or Control-C or right-click copy, however you want to do your copy mechanism. Then you're going to go to your Word document, find an empty space in your Word document. So if I come down here we go, find an empty space down here, and then you're going to go to your paste. Actually, this is no longer copied. There we go. Come here, you're going to click the bottom part of the paste button here, and you're going to choose Paste Special. You're going to choose Paste Link in the box here, and you're going to choose this top option that says Microsoft Excel Worksheet Object, and then you'll hit OK. And what it'll do now is it'll paste that linked table into your Excel. So take about 3 minutes and do that. If you have questions, let me know and I can answer them, and then I will demonstrate kind of what happens or how this link affects these files here, and kind of a different behavior that you'll see with this linked data in your Word document. All right, so I hope everybody's been able to copy over or link their table of data over into their Word document. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate. This isn't going to be necessary to follow along, but you can kind of if you want to. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to I've saved my Word document, and now I'm going to close it. Save. And I am actually also going to close my Excel document. It's telling me there's a lot of information on my clipboard because I've copied this whole table. I'm going to say, no, I don't need to keep it. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to find where I have this saved. Here we go. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to open up the file, the Word document that I had just created. And so when I open it up, after building that link, I am going to get this message here that comes up that says, this document contains links that may refer to other files. Do you want to update this document with the data from the linked files? So what this message is telling me is this is telling me that there is information in this Word document that is linked to another file. This is an important message to pay attention to. In this case, we're expecting it because we're the ones that linked the data. We're the ones that took the data from Excel and put it into Word. So we're expecting that link. Now, if you get a file from somebody, they email you a file, a coworker, whoever, and you open it up, like a Word document, you open it up and you get this message here, and you're not certain about whether or not it should be linked or whether that data should be connected or whatever. If you're not certain, click no, and then get in touch with the person who sent you the file and says, hey, I got this message that says it's linking to another file. Do I need that other file? Should I be seeing this? Is this expected? Because the reason why this warning exists here and is linking is that this is a possible vector for a malware attack. And this is ways that people have done, have actually sent malicious software, viruses and Trojans through Microsoft Word documents doing something similar to this here. In addition, if you get this here and they only sent you one file, if they only sent you the Word document and it's telling you, hey, this is linked to another file, and it's like, what other file is this linked to? You can reach out to them and say, hey, is there supposed to be another file that you were supposed to send me? They may say, oh, no, it's fine. You can, because if I click no, it's still going to open up the document. Everything's going to be fine, but it will be a snapshot. It'll almost be an embedded version of the spreadsheet that we had before. And I'll show actually that in a second. What happens if we break the link? In this case, we're going to say yes, because we're the ones that created the link, and we want that link to continue to exist between our Word document and our Excel file. So I'm going to click yes on this window, and it will do its little job. There we go. And now I'm back in Excel. Here's my table, just the way it was before. This was my embedded table. Down here's my linked table, just the way it was before. If I want to open up the Excel, the linked file, I can come down here and just double click on the file there, and it'll open up Excel again. So that's one of the things that happens when you link from one to the others. You're going to get that little message when you open it up. Now, what happens if I break the link between the Excel spreadsheet and the Word? So this is going to kind of simulate the idea that what happens if I send somebody the Word document and I don't send them the Excel file? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close these again. Save again, why not? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I'm going to rename my the Excel file. Don't mind my jumping around my computer here looking for files. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually come in and I'm actually going to rename. So this was the Excel file that I had before, and I'm actually just going to name it. We're just going to go and we're going to just add something onto it. I'm going to call it broken. So it's a different file name. And so this is kind of simulating the idea that this file no longer is where it exists. It wasn't sent along with the other file, or it got changed in some way. So it's no longer the file that Word is looking for when it opens up. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to open up my Word document again. I'm going to open up. I'm going to get this message again. Do you want to update it with link from the linked files? I'm going to click yes, because hey, I went there. The only thing is it doesn't give me a warning that, hey, I can't find this file. But if I come down here, and here's my table again, if I double click on this, you'll notice if I double click, it's not opening up Excel any longer. You can't tell that I'm clicking, but I am clicking. It no longer opens up the file like it did before. And the reason is it can no longer find that file. So this is the same way as if somebody had just sent me this Word file, didn't send me Excel file, so I only had one piece of the link. In addition, if I come over here and open up Excel and I make changes, I'll just go down and put these side by side again. There we go. Put these side by side. If I go over here and make changes again, it doesn't change over here. And the reason for that there is that the link is broken. There is no longer a connection between my Excel file over here and my Word file over here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to restore the link. So if you realize, hey, there's supposed to be a linked file, where did the original file go? And you go and you find the original file, you put it back into its right place. So I'm going to save this. We're going to close this, and I'm going to actually go back and I'm going to fix this file name, just like I did before. There we go. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this up again. I'm going to get my prompt here about it's linked to another file. Do I want to update this document? And I'm going to say yes, just like I did before. And now you'll notice, remember, like right before I closed the Excel file, I updated that one field entry. Come over here. There's that updated field entry. So now that I've restored that link, this is now able to pull back or pull the information from Excel. This window is now working. It's now looking into Excel again. If I double click on this, it's going to open up Excel once more, just like I did before. So there's my update. If I go here and change this back to the 90 that it was before, you can see over here, this changes back. So that's what the linking does. The linking allows you to basically put a window in Word that looks into the Excel file and kind of connects the two files together. If you ever separate them, that link gets broken, and if you make changes in one, it won't change it in the other. The con of this here is that if you do break that link and you have a Word document with a linked table in there like we did before, you can't update the table manually. Because remember before, when we copied and pasted, we did the embedded table up here in Word before. Let me just make this a bit bigger. When we did the embedded here, we can go in and we can update this table manually if we wanted to. For the linked table down here, I can't change this manually. I have to have it linked back to the original Excel document. So that's really kind of the con of this here, is that you do have to keep those files together and that link to going together in order to kind of make sure that this can get updated. The benefit is that if you make changes in Excel, they'll happen in Word, which is useful if say you're building a report. You're building a report for work, and you don't say have all of the data yet, or you have say dummy data in Excel and to Word, or you know that at some point the data in Excel is going to get updated before you have to submit the report. You can do that link there, and then whenever you get the updated data for Excel, you can go in, you can enter that in, and it'll fix it over here in Word as well too. You don't have to do that extra copy and paste and remember to get the latest version of the data from one to the other. Linking also works between Excel and PowerPoint. And so what we're going to do is let's see how that looks too. So I'm going to actually put my Excel here over here, and I'm going to open up PowerPoint again. So now I have my Excel over here and PowerPoint. And in PowerPoint, I'm going to go and I'm going to create a new blank slide again, just like I did before. Just like I did before, I'm going to click and select my chart over here. I'm going to copy it, just like I did before. Again, the first steps of linking or embedding are always the same. You select and you copy what you want from Excel. And I'm going to come over here to PowerPoint. Once again, I have my two-part paste button, just like I had before. I'm going to come down to Paste, choose Paste Special. And once again, just like in Word, I have a Paste and Paste Link option here. So I'm going to go to Paste Link, and PowerPoint notices in my clipboard I have a Microsoft Excel chart, and says, okay, we're going to put the chart object in there. So I'm going to hit OK. And it's going to go and drop it into here. Now, the behavior of this here is the exact same as what happened before when I embedded the chart from before, is that they're linked together. So if I come over here and make a change to my data, it updates the chart over here. The difference in this case is that the link will continue after I save and close my PowerPoint presentation. And so let me show you that. So I'm going to save, and we're going to close the PowerPoint, and then I'm going to reopen the PowerPoint. And when I reopen PowerPoint, I actually get a slightly different message now. So this one here tells me it's a PowerPoint security notice. Microsoft Office has identified a potential security concern. It contains links to other files. We know that because we put the link in there. But this is just, again, another warning for you that if you receive a PowerPoint presentation from someone and you see this message and you're not certain whether you should or not, hit the cancel button here, close the file, get in touch with the person who sent it to you, and just kind of make sure that this is what you should be expecting to see, that there is a link, and that maybe you need to have that linked file, or that this is something that you should be expecting. If it's something that you shouldn't be expecting, then it's a potential malware infection on there. And this will go on to say, if you update the links, it will attempt to retrieve the latest information. So it's going to call home, pull the updated information. If you don't update the links, it will use the previous, so it'll just use a snapshot. So you can still open the file. If I hit cancel, it's still going to open the file, but it's just going to show a snapshot of the data that I have there. You can see that note file links can be used to share, access and share confidential information without your permission, and possibly perform other harmful actions. So that's why they just have this here, is that they just want to make sure that you're safe using these files and using Microsoft Office, because Microsoft Office is a common vector for malware infections. And if you see these windows here pop up, it's always just kind of make sure that it's what you're expecting, because if you're not, then it allows you to prevent any sort of action happening that might infect your computer. In this case, because I created the link and I know that it's supposed to be there, I can create update links, and then it'll open it up and it will behave just like before. So now if I come over and make my changes into here, it will change over here. So it no longer has that broken link that we saw the first time that we copied from one to the other. Does that make sense to people? I'm going to give you, let's say about 2 to 3 minutes to go and link the chart in the Excel file into a new slide on PowerPoint, and then take about like a 3-minute break. So I'm going to give about 5 minutes here, and in about 5 minutes we'll get started again with the next thing that we'll look at in this class, which is actually looking at linking data from one Excel document to another. But kind of take just a little bit of break and kind of practice and kind of play around with that there. Open and close the files, see the different messages, see what happens if you break a link from one to the other. If you have any questions, let me know in the chat, and I will be right here. Right, so I hope everybody's had time to kind of practice and work with that there. So to continue, I'm actually going to close my PowerPoint presentation and my Word, because we're not going to need them any longer for this class. And we're going to go back to Excel. Now, one of the things that with Excel is you can also kind of link data from one Excel worksheet or workbook to another Excel workbook. It's a little bit more complicated than the copy and paste that we've been doing between Word or Excel and Word and PowerPoint. And it's really meant for a different purpose. One of the things that Excel kind of allows us to do is Excel allows us to pull data from different sources, whether it be something like a database, so like an Access database or some MySQL database that you have existing on the computer or online. You can pull data from online data sources. So a useful kind of thing for this here is being able to say pull like stock prices or whatever kind of like investment prices or something on there and such, and you can keep it updated on your Excel document for like, okay, so you've bought 10,000 shares of company X, you can always pull the updated price there, and it will calculate out the value of your shares, etc. on there. But we can also use this just to kind of link between Excel and Excel. So I've looked linking between Excel and Word and PowerPoint, so it's kind of worth just seeing how to link between Excel and another Excel document. So this isn't something I don't do all that often, so hopefully I can actually remember the steps. I should have practiced this before the class. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up here in Excel. We're going to come up here to the Data tab. Actually, what we need to do is we need to start actually opening up a new Excel document. Sorry about that there. So we're going to go to File, and we're going to go to New, and we're going to open up a new blank workbook. So I have a blank workbook that I'm working here, and now I'm going to go to my Data tab. So the first thing that we need to do in order to kind of connect this new workbook to our other workbook is I need to build the data first. I actually have to make the connection. So we're going to come up here. I'm going to click this Get Data button. And we're going to do Get the Data from File. And I'm going to choose From Workbook. And so this will open up, and I will browse to where my workbook is, which happens to be, if I go here, whoops, go to instruction, so you'll go to wherever you've downloaded the Excel linked document. Mine is here, linked data exercise, import. So now, this is actually a little different. So now this opens up. This is a little different than what I'm used to. The last time I did this here was I was actually doing it on Excel 2010, and so it's been updated for Excel 365. So yeah, so I'm showing you Excel 365 here. This should be the same as Excel 2016 and 2019. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to open up Sheet 1, because that's where my data is. And so you can see here's my data existing over here. And then I'm going to click Load. And what it'll do now is it'll come and it will pull the data over to here. Now you'll notice it doesn't come over looking exactly like it did in the other Excel file. The data is transferred over. I believe the math no longer happens, so it's lost. So it's just transferred over, just the numbers there. This here is not as clean looking as it was in the other file. This here was actually rounded off to the nearest whole number. Over here, it goes out to the decimal numbers. So it's not an absolute perfect link from one to the other like we saw when we linked from Excel to Word. But it did bring the data over to here. And so what happens if I make changes? So what I can do is if I come over here, and we're going to make this change, we're going to bring this back to, say, 90, and that's going to update the numbers over here. I come over here, and I can actually refresh. And you notice, actually, it did not update the numbers over here. Actually come over here, refresh, and it's still not updating that there. And the reason that there is that the data right now is locked. Because it's open over here, it can't be edited or changed over here. Or I can edit, I can change it over here, but they're no longer kind of like, linked together. It was able to pull the data from one and bring it over to the other. Now, if I go and actually close and save this here, so I'm going to actually just save this in here, call it book 1, doesn't really matter. And I'm going to close this, save, why not? And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to reopen those up again. Where did I put it? Nope, wrong place. Here we go, book 1. So I'm going to open this up here. And you'll notice now when I've opened up, this was the new worksheet that or workbook that I created with the data linked from one to the other. You notice here that it gives me now a security warning that there's been external data connections have been disabled. And in order to kind of continue and make that link happen, I have to tell it to enable the content. This is similar to the online file warning that you get with Microsoft Office now, that it will note that if you open a Microsoft Office file, a Word, PowerPoint, Excel, from an email, or you download it from the internet, like actually the ones that you're probably working with here, you're going to get this yellowish bar, and in order to do anything, in order to do any edits or to print, you do have to enable the content to make it happen. And so now once I did this, you can see actually now this is now updated to show the correct information, like the information that I had there before. If I try to open up the other file, my original file here, you'll notice actually, oh, it did open. Usually it does not open. There's always like a confusion from one to the other. I'm going to update that again. And we're going to come over here, and we're going to go to data, and we're going to refresh. And it's still not going to pull the data here. In order to do that, in order to make the changes happen from one to the other, I do need to have them open only one at a time. So we're going to save, we're going to close you, save, and we're going to open this again. And I'm going to refresh the data. And you can see now it updated here, where it didn't update before. And the reason for that there is that because it's pulling from that same pool of data, it's locked in one place. And so it can't automatically update until it's unlocked in the other place to be able to access and pull it there. So that's the linking. I'm not going to go too much more into this here. I just wanted to kind of show that it was something that can happen. If you're interested, there's more stuff that you can learn online, either looking at support.office.com and looking at linking workbooks, or in lynda.com. And on the handout, I do have information down here at the end, kind of talking about working with kind of some more advanced stuff, working with Excel, PowerPoint, and Word at lynda.com. I'll cover this a little bit more at the end of the class about working with lynda.com. But I just wanted to kind of demonstrate that, yes, you can link information from one workbook to the other. It's not exactly a smooth operation, and the get data is ultimately designed to be able to pull from other data sources, some either online sources or a database that you've built and are working with. Does that make sense to people? Any questions? Let me know if you have any questions. I'll give a couple minutes to see if any questions come up, and then we'll move on to the next part of this class where we're going to start looking at Mailmerge. I'm going to close this. Don't save. I'm going to go here. So yeah, so we're going to be looking right here at step 6 on our handout here, exercise 6, if there aren't any questions. All right, so it doesn't look like there are any questions. Excellent. So let's look at Mailmerge. So Mailmerge is the process of being able to take information that you have stored in a database, like an Access database. If you have Microsoft Access, which is Microsoft Office's kind of database design software, or in Microsoft Excel, if you're using Excel, it's kind of like a mini database where you have data stored. And it allows you to take that data and how it's organized by all the different fields of information, and actually insert it into and actually build either labels or insert it into text in Microsoft Word so that it's able to pull in different records and update. I'm using a lot of terminology here, so let me actually demonstrate what I mean by each of those different terminologies. So we're going to go and the first thing that you want to do when you're working with a mail merge is you want to make sure that your data is ready to do a mail merge. So the second handout on the website, the second one here, is this Mailmerge exercise Excel file. Right now we're going to open that up and take a look at it here. So I'm going to open this up. And we're going to make sure that my data here, so this is just a stock list of names and addresses and phone numbers, all listed on here. Things like dates that they contacted, etc. on there. You want to make sure that your data is organized well to do a mail merge. So to do that there, first thing is columns. Each column is a different field. So what the field is if you think about an address, when you have your address out, you have your first name, your last name, you have a street address, you have a city, a state, and a zip code. Each of those little pieces of information is a different field, and everybody, you, me, everybody else in the world, most other people in the world, have different pieces of information to fill into those different slots. And so that's what we each have our columns up here. So you can see our column. We have first name, we have last name. Let me zoom in a bit to make it a little clearer to read. How's that? First name, last name, phone number, street address, city. Those are the different pieces of information that we have for each of the people on our mail merge list. Now each row going down here is a different record, and a record is made up of a group of different fields. So we have record number 1 here, and so we have our first name for that record, the last name for that record, the phone number, etc. going across. A label, a mailing label, can have many fields, but each record is going to make up one label. I always recommend, as anything in Excel, when you're organized data like this and such, always use a header row like this here. So ID, first name, last name. This first row is set aside as a header row. It helps to make things easier when you're trying to figure out which column is which later on. So because we're going to tell Microsoft Word when we do the mail merge that, hey, we're using header rows, it will tell me that this is a street address column and not column F. Because if it was just column F, it's like, okay, do I need column F or column G to get the street address information? By putting this header row up here, first of all, it's just useful for you or anybody else who's looking at the spreadsheet to know what this column is and what information is expected to be in this column. So for example, like this here is just a bunch of dates. If I didn't have this request date up here at the top as a header, this is just a bunch of dates that really have no other meaning to it because there's not a header up there. But because there's a header, I know what they are. So always use a header row. And then when you do the mail merge, you'll be able to tell Word to use this row as an identifier for that information there. So now that I've looked at my Excel document and said, okay, all my data is organized and arranged nicely, I'm happy the way that it is, I can now close it. I do not need to keep the Excel document open in order to do a mail merge. So now I'm going to go back to Microsoft Word, and we're just going to go to a blank Word document, just like I did before. So now here I am back in a blank Word document where I've started off a bunch of my different classes. Hopefully you've been along with me in the journey there. I'm going to come up here on the ribbon to the Mailings tab right up here. We're going to go over to Mailings. Now there are 2 different ways that you can do a mail merge in Microsoft Word. One is by using the mail merge wizard, and then the other way is to kind of do manually step by step through the mail merge. I'm going to show doing the mailing labels using the mail merge wizard, and then we're going to do mail merge into a letter using the individual steps. A little confession, I have been doing this for a lot of years. I still use the mail merge wizard simply because I just like the step by step kind of guide that it takes me along. So even though I know the manual way of doing it there and such, I still like to use the Mailmerge wizard simply because it's convenient. So don't be afraid. If you don't use Mailmerge a lot, just remember that the Mailmerge wizard will help you walk through the different steps. So I'm now in my Word document here where I'm going to be creating the labels that I want to create from Microsoft Excel. I'm going to come over here to Start Mailmerge. I'm going to click on it. I'm going to get a little menu open. And down at the very bottom of the menu is the step-by-step Mailmerge wizard. This is what we want to use. So I'm going to click this, and it's going to open up this little sidebar over here. And you can see down at the bottom, down over here, let me move my mouse so it catches the eye. Actually, it's right where the logo is blocking. So it's like right underneath my head on here. It's actually step 1 of 6, and then this is where the link to kind of move to the next steps in the process. So the first thing is it's going to take you step by step through the process. So let me give you 2 minutes, or 1 minute. Yeah, let's do 2 minutes. Go and open up Microsoft Word. Open up a new document in Microsoft Word. Go to the Mailings tab on the ribbon. Start Mailmerge. Come down and select step-by-step Mailmerge wizard, and kind of stop there. I just kind of want to make sure that everybody's kind of at this point before I start showing the next steps, so that there's not a lot that you have to go to catch up to. So yeah, take about 2 minutes to do that. All right, so everybody has the Mailmerge wizard open. Let us continue. So the first thing that the Mailmerge is going to ask us is to select the document type. Now you can see the variety of different things that we can kind of do in the Mailmerge. We can do letters. We'll be looking at this in just a little bit later on in this class here. You can do email messages. So Microsoft Office, one of the other main sections of Microsoft Office is Outlook, of course. And just like we're looking at the way that Excel integrates with Word and PowerPoint, Excel and Word also integrate with Outlook as well too. We don't really go into Outlook at all here at the Ferguson Library, simply because there's just too much configuration involved in Outlook to kind of make it work properly. You need to have an email address and all that there to kind of work properly. Lynda.com does have a lot of stuff to kind of cover that and such. But you can use Word's Mailmerge function to also build emails that you can use in Microsoft Outlook and have them send automatically. We have envelopes, so if you prefer to print directly onto envelopes instead of printing onto labels, you can do the whole Mailmerge thing onto envelopes as well too. It actually works pretty much the same way as labels do, just goes onto individual envelopes instead. We have labels, and you can also build a directory on there. So in this case, because we're doing mailing labels for this exercise, we're going to select labels. And then I'm going to come down to the bottom on the right here, and it's kind of hard to see, I think, because I have the logo in the way, but there's a little link down at the bottom right that says Next Starting Document. So I'm going to click on that, and what it's going to do now is it's going to tell me to select the starting document. How do you want to set up your mailing labels? So this is where we get to choose the labels that we are using for our mailing labels. So you have some options here. The first thing that you have here is change the document layout, because right now the layout of our document here is for a standard Word document. It's not the layout for labels right now. So we need to change that there. Or you can start from existing documents. So if you've done labels before and you have the format and you know that they work with the labels that you have and they print well, you can do start from existing document and kind of pull the structure from something that you've created and saved before. Because we don't have anything that we've created or saved before here, we're going to do this change document layout. And I'm going to come down here to this option down here. It's going to tell me label options. So this is where I get to choose the labels that I'm working with. So I click on label options, and I'm going to get a window that pops up here that tells me, allows me to select the labels that I'm doing. So there's things like continuous feed printers. This is like if you have a like Dymo that has the reel of the labels kind of going off, or you have like an old dot matrix printer. But most people have page printers, which is just where you have the individual sheets of the printer in a tray and it's able to pull them out. You're able to select which tray it's going to come from. So my printer has just one tray. Some printers may have two trays. I also have a manual tray. So by default, it's set at manual tray because most people don't put label paper into their normal trays because they're printing labels in a unique circumstance. So they'll put it into their manual tray. Down here, you have label vendors. So this is where you're able to choose who makes the labels that you're working for, because you don't have to know the exact size or shape of your labels in order to do the label format. It used to be a lot more complicated. Now there's a big kind of database built into Microsoft Office saying, okay, you've bought these labels, here's the information about the labels, and it automatically puts that stuff in there. So for example, if you go to a store like Office Max or Staples, be careful going to those stores nowadays. Wear a mask if you have to go outside. Make your trips outside rare. Stay safe. If you go to Microsoft Office Max or Staples or Office Depot, and typically what you'll do is you'll find there'll be like Avery labels. Avery is like the big company that sells labels in the United States here. You can choose Avery US letter, so it's US letter sized on there. And then on the Avery labels, there is usually a 4-digit code. It will say something like 4678, 5678, 4630. That is an identifier code for those labels. So for example, 4630, if I go down and find, so here we go, 5660. So on my label thing, there'll be a label that says 5660. I come down and just find that number there and select this here, and it will automatically create the label formatting for the size of the label that I bought. Some things to keep in mind: 5660 and 4660 are actually the same label, just the paper on them is a little bit differently. 5660 is address labels for laser printer, 4660 is labels for an inkjet printer. I happen to know this because I used to work at Staples, and this was something that I always had to kind of point out to people. Are you printing on an inkjet printer, or are you printing on a laser printer? And made sure that they got the right labels for that there. So for our exercise here, though, we're not going to use the label. We're going to come up here to the Microsoft, and oh, this is a little bit more. Okay, they've changed this from what I'm used to. Nope, Microsoft. There we go. Never mind. Okay, click Microsoft. I clicked the wrong thing. And I'm going to choose 30 per page. We're going to do the 30 per page on there. Now, you'll notice that there are two 30 per pages. And then when I click on one, over here, it gives me some information about the label. So here it tells me that the height is 2.63 inches and the width is 1 inch. The page size is 11 inches by 8.5. So what that's telling me now is that the height, so if the paper is coming in like this here, the height of it is 2.63 and the width is 1 inch. So these are actually labels that are kind of set up like this here, the long side going down. So it's actually paper that's in a landscape format. So you have label, label, label. This isn't what we want for our document here, because our document is set up portrait there. We want to choose the other one here. We want to choose the 30 per page. So then it'll do label, 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 and then down there. So once you do that, then you can see now it tells me it's 8.5 by 11. And that the width is 2.63 inches, and then the height is 1 inch. So these are the labels that we want. So we want the second 30 per page in the Microsoft vendor. I'm going to hit OK, and you can see actually up here my ruler now has the little shows, I think, the different label sizes. But if I wanted to see what those outlines are, I can come here to my View tab on the top, and I can view Gridlines. Where was it? Oh, table design. I have to come here to table design. There we go. I have to come here to layout, because now I get a table. It creates a table actually in Microsoft Word for all the labels are. I come over here and I can view grid lines, and it will drop in the sizes of my labels. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give you about 3 minutes to go in and get to the on the Mailmerge. So we've opened up the Mailmerge wizard. You're going to click Next. You're going to choose Labels over here on the right. You can go Next Starting Document. You're going to click Label Options, And in label options, you're going to choose Microsoft and then the second 30 per page. I'll give you about 2 minutes to do that there. Let me know if you have any questions. Right, so everybody has selected their labels. If you want to be able to view the grid lines for the labels, that shows up here in the table layout options up here on the tab. Come here and choose the view grid lines option over here on the left, top left on the ribbon. And then we're going to go back to the mailings tab. So now that we've selected our labels and we have them placed in there, we're going to click the next button down here. And you'll notice now we're at step 2 of 6. And it's it's a little bit hard to see because of the logo. Actually, let me remove the logo here just to kind of make this a little easier to see. I'm going to take the logo and I'm going to just kind of shove it up here. There we go. And I'm still not blocking. I'm not blocking it, so that's good. Okay, so right down here we have the. You can see. Whoop, I'm not pointing in the right place. Right down here, you can see we have our next step. We can go next to select recipients. We can also go previous, and that's one of the nice things about using the Mailmerge wizard is you can go back and forward through the process as you need. You can be all the way down to the last step, and if you wanted to, you can go all the way back to the beginning and kind of make changes going forward again. So you're never kind of stuck or bound in like one place. In this case, we're going to go and we're going to click next. We're going to go to select recipients. And so this is now where we get to tell Microsoft Word where is the list of names and addresses that we're going to be putting onto the mailing label. So our Mailmerge wizard over here, and actually I'm going to just make this, I can make that a little bigger. There we go, make it a little easier to see. Over here, we have a couple different options. We can use an existing list, which is what we're going to do here. We've created the list in Excel. The list already exists. We can select from Outlook contacts. So this is another place where that integration between Microsoft Office products happens, is that a lot of people would keep all of their contacts in Outlook contacts. Outlook contacts can keep more than just email addresses. It can also keep titles and addresses and all that information in there as well too. So you can actually pull from that Outlook address book or Outlook contacts into Mailmerge as well too. So you don't have to have a separate database or Excel spreadsheet if you keep everything in your Outlook contacts. Or we can type a new list. So in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to choose this first option, use an existing list. And we're going to come down and we're going to give the option of choosing the list. So we have to go to Browse to be able to actually go and find the file that we're working with. So I'm going to click Browse. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to navigate to where the Mailmerge Excel file, the one that we looked at before. So wherever you downloaded and saved that there, that's where you're going to want to navigate to. In my case, I have it here and here and here, and I'm going to choose the Mailmerge exercise XLSX file here. I'm going to choose this and I'm going to click Open. And now what happens is I'm going to get an option for the different worksheets that are on there. So there was 2 worksheets on the Excel document. There was a catalog request and there was a call request. The first worksheet, the one that we were looking at that I kind of pointed out all the different fields and everything and such, was the catalog request. That's the one that I want to choose in this case. Additionally, you can see there's a checkbox down at the bottom of this message here that says first row of data contains column headers. Remember I was telling you about the column headers earlier. This is where I tell Microsoft Word to use that first row as column header. So don't use it as data, but use it to define the data that we're showing. If I turn this off, it's going to include that first row that says things like ID, first name, last name. It's going to include that actually in the data and actually make a label that has that there. I don't want that to happen, and I want to use it to organize my data instead of just being part of the data. So I'm going to choose first row of data contains column headers. Keep that checked if it's checked. If it's not, check it. And then I'm going to hit OK. And now it's going to open up this Mailmerge Recipients box. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you about 2 minutes to get up to this point here. So what you'll do is you're going to click next step down after choosing your labels down on the bottom. You're going to have use an existing list over here. You're going to browse to the Mailmerge exercise Excel document that you downloaded from the Online Tech Classes website. Choose the catalog requests worksheet and then hit OK, and it should get you to this point here. So take about a couple minutes to do that there, and then I will continue with this. All right, everybody's selected their Mailmerge recipients now, so you should be looking at a box similar to this here in your Microsoft Word. So what this now actually gives you is this now allows you to select which of the records from your Excel document you're going to include in your Mailmerge document. By default, everything is selected. Basically, they say they want you to do every single field that's in there. But you can unselect things by just checking the box over here. I can unselect everything by checking this box on the top that deselects everything, and then I can select specific things that I want. But you can go a little bit further than that as well too. If you notice down below the box, we have this little section here that says Refined Recipient Lists. So I can do things like I can sort the list so that I get, say, so I can sort by any of the fields. So actually, this is, there we go. It's kind of got stuck up at the top of my screen there. So filter and sort. So I can actually sort the records. And if you remember when we were looking at the data in Excel, remember when we sorted Excel data there, you can kind of think of this here as a sentence. So sort by, I can say sort by, let's do state, so that we get all the states together. And then we're going to sort by last name, not phone number, last name. So it's going to sort by, it's going to put all of them in states. So it's going to start off with, I think Alabama ends up being first. I might be wrong on it. We'll see that when that comes up there. And then I'll go through and have all the states listed in alphabetical order. And then I'll go over here to last name and put those into alphabetical order. I can also put them into descending alphabetical order if I want to. So when I hit OK, oh, actually Alaska is the first one. So Alaska and then Alabama. And so now these here are all in kind of alphabetical order by their states as well. I can filter, which means that, once again, just kind of shove this right up at the top of the window there. If I filter, I can then select the specific records that I want to see. So if I only wanted to look at, say, the records for Connecticut, I can come down here to state. State is equal to, and I'm going to put in CT. and I'm going to hit OK. And now it'll only show me just the entries that are in Connecticut. So if I deselect these and then select just those three, now only these three will be the labels that we create. So, and I can actually, I can actually build, I don't know why I keep shoving it up at the top here. I can then add in, okay, let's also do state equal to New York. We'll make this actually an OR, so it includes both Connecticut and New York. And so now we have both the Connecticut and the New York people listed in there. By doing this here, it allows me to, if I wanted to just pull out specific states. So for example, if you're doing a set of mailings, you're doing a bunch of like mailing of newsletters or something, and you want to get them out to the West Coast, you want to make sure that you're kind of pressed for time, and you want to make sure that, say, the ones going out to the West Coast get into the mail first. You can go and pull up just the fields that you have for Washington, Oregon, and California, and then you can print out those labels, get those on there, take those to the post office, and then, because those might take longer to travel than, say, if you're sending them right here into Connecticut. So you can kind of filter, or if you wanted to just send things to a specific part of your list, and you have a field that you can pick it out for, like if I wanted to sending just to a specific like zip code or something, I could do that there. So the idea of, say, sending out like electoral or voting information, and you want to send it just to specific people with the information that you have, you can kind of filter that out. In our case, we're actually going to clear all the filters because we want to have everybody in there because we want all of the labels. You can also do find duplicates. So if you have, this is very useful because you want to make sure that you don't have any duplicate data in there, because you don't want to waste any money sending things out to the same person twice. So whether it be like a duplicate address, so that instead of 2 people at one address getting 2 copies of the thing, you only send 1 copy to that location, or you just have duplicate information entered in, because it happens. Find recipient. If you're looking to be able, you want to print a label, somebody got to you and said, hey, I never received my newsletter for this month, you can go in and pull their information up directly, find recipient, and have it generate the label for them at that time. The last option here is validate addresses. This year you need to have a paid service with like the Postal Service or one of the other address verifications out there. But what it'll do is it'll go through and it will check the addresses to make sure that they're legitimate postal addresses, and so that they don't end up getting returned to you or become undeliverable. So those are just different ways you can refine your recipient list. So I do encourage you, if you're going to be playing around with Mailmerge, you can always come back in and kind of play around and kind of see the different things. For the course of this exercise, we're just going to select everything here. So we're going to come in. To walk you through, when you go back into Word to kind of practice what we're doing here, you're going to see this box, just click OK, and we'll move on forward. And so now what it'll do, after I click OK, is now you can see my first label over here is blank, and then I get this little next record into each thing. And you can kind of start seeing how this Mailmerge works. Is that what it's going to do is it's going to enter in the information about the first label right here. And then we have an instruction here to go to the next record, go down to the next row on the spreadsheet, and then enter the information in there. So we're going to move on to the next step. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here to next step, step 3 of 6, go to arrange your labels. And so now this is the step where we get, they say up here in the wizard here, if you have not already done so, lay out your label using the first label on the sheet. So this is the label here. And I can put whatever I want to. I can put whatever I want here. I can type whatever I want in there. And it will be whatever's in that first label. And then there's a way to kind of duplicate that for the rest of the labels. But for a mailing label, I'm not going to put, I can put whatever I want there. I'm going to put the person's address in there. So over here, it gives us a couple different kind of options on there. We have an address block, we have a greeting line. So a greeting line is like a salutation. So dear so-and-so, Mr., Mrs. so-and-so, whatever the greeting for that there. This is something that's useful for starting a letter that you're using a Mailmerge on. Electronic postage. This is, again, has to be tied into if you have an electronic postage system, like through stamps.com or something through the Postal Service. What it'll do actually is it will go through and it will take like the information for like the zip code and whatever, and automatically set up the postage barcode onto the label. So these are things we don't really have to worry about for this case. We are going to look at this first one here, the address block, because we want to basically insert an address onto these mailing labels. That's the whole purpose of the mailing labels. So I'm going to click address block, and what it's going to do is this is going to open up my insert address block box or window here. So over here, the first thing we get is insert recipient's name in this format. I get to choose the format of the recipient's name. So here we can see I could just do a first name, I can do a first name, last name, and a suffix. I'm trying to remember the term there. Suffix, so junior, the third, senior, etc. Josh Q, Randall, so it puts it in a middle initial here. This one here is just using a first name, but the full first name versus this one here. Now, some of these here will only work if you have the correct data for that there. So for example, this option here has a middle initial in there. This will only work if you have a field in your Excel document that has a middle name or a middle initial. If you don't have that information, like ours does not have that information. So by choosing this here, it's just going to ignore this middle one here because there's nothing for it to match up to. The same thing with the suffix. If you're not tracking things like junior, third, senior, it's not going to include that on there because it doesn't have that information unless that information is already included in your spreadsheet. There's things like over here where it offers, say, a title at the beginning, Mr., Mrs., Ms., Doctor. If your spreadsheet does not have that information, I can't just select this here and magically have everything be Mr. or Mrs. because it's not going to try to guess for that there. I need to have that information in my spreadsheet. So we're just going to go with something very basic. We're going to go with this basic name here. Down here, we have insert postal address. And so you can kind of see, actually, if I do insert down here, you can actually format it based to the specific region on there. You can include the country. There's a lot of different options on there. I do recommend kind of going and kind of playing around with it if you want to. And then over here, we get to see a preview of what the label looks like. So we're going to see the name, the street address, the state, or the city, the state, the zip code. And I can use the little navigation tools up here, forward or back, to kind of go through my data. And I always recommend doing this when you're setting up your Mailmerge, just kind of click through and just kind of make sure that everything is looking correct. That things are lining up into the right place. I just realized they spelled reservoir wrong on here. I've been teaching this class for 2 years, and I think I just realized my data has some incorrect stuff that's in there. But you can kind of see that things are formatted correctly. If something does not show up as being correct, like for example, if it's saying, say it has the phone number here instead of the name, then it wasn't able to map the information correctly. And so mapping is basically saying that this field, the column in Excel, has this type of information in it. Mailmerge is reasonably intelligent so that if you put full name, last name as headers, it's going to tie the full name to the full name information, or the first name to the first name information, last name to the last name information, street address to street address. But sometimes it can get confused, or sometimes you don't have your labels correct on there. You don't have the column headers information. And so if that happens, like suppose it has the wrong information showing here, you're going to come down to this Match Fields button down here, and this is where you're able to tell it. So an address block here requires a first name, a last name. There's the suffix. Remember I was talking about the junior, senior, the third. It's not matched because there's nothing in our data that has that suffix information. Company, because we don't have company information, that's not there. Street address, so address 1 goes to street address. If I wanted to, I can go in and change this, say, to like phone, just to kind of do something silly. Yes, and now you can see instead of putting the street address there, it puts the phone number there instead. And it'll do that for all the different labels. So that's in case, like, suppose the phone number was put where the street address is. I can then come in here and say, okay, for address 1, use this column, use the street address column in that place there. Okay, yes. So you have a lot of different opportunities to make sure that everything is correct before you kind of continue with the Mailmerge. So I'm going to give you just about a minute because it doesn't take long to get to this point here. You're going to click to the next step. You're going to choose address block on here. and then kind of click through, just kind of make sure that everything looks okay in here, and then click OK. And I'll give you about a minute to get to this point here so that you'll be looking at your address and it says address block right up here on the top. So take about a minute and let me know if you have questions. All right, that's making sense to everybody. So now you've inserted an address block. It's now inserted this little kind of code block right up here that says address block. And now what happens is over here on the right in the Mailmerge wizard, there's this other button on here that says update all labels. And so right now the address block here is only going to show up for the first label for the first record of information that you have. When I click update all labels, come on, there we go. Click update all labels, it'll go and add address block all the different labels. And now you can clearly see how this mail merge is going to work, is that it's going to create the address block. So it's going to pull first name, last name, street address, city, state, zip code for the first record. And then as it moves over, it's going to hit this little instruction here saying, go to the next record. So it's going to then move down on the spreadsheet down to the next row. And it's going to pull all that information, first name, last name, street address, city, state, zip code. Hits the next record, moves down a row, pulls out the same information, and continues. So you can kind of visualize in that spreadsheet. If you go back and visualize in the spreadsheet, let me open it up and I'll just kind of show you that visualization again. And you can see right now I opened up this here, it's telling me it's locked for editing because right now Word has kind of locked the data on here. I can't make these changes while I'm working in the mail merge, but I can still read it there. So yeah, so it's going to enter, it's going to pull this information here, going to hit the next record, and it's going to come down to the next line, pull this information, and then so on. So that's the way that the mail merge ultimately works. How when you think about it, organizing your Excel document, that's the way this here kind of works. So now once I've gone in and I've put in the address label, I've clicked update all labels, and it's added an address block to all my different labels. I'm going to come down and I'm going to hit the next step, which is going to go to preview your labels. And what this does is this turns on the preview option and allows me to actually see what my labels are going to look like. So as I mentioned before, you get a bunch of different opportunities through this process. Make sure that everything is looking correct. So I go through, I can kind of scroll through and I can look at like one page of them here. If I want to, I can right up here on the top under this preview results on the ribbon, I can actually step through all the different things and it'll change whatever this first one is. So like right now the first one is whatever row 9 is over there, or record 9, here's record 10. So I can kind of walk through and just kind of make sure that everything is looking the way that it should. I can also over here on my my wizard over here, I can also step through the different recipients. They give me another option here to edit my recipient list. So once again, I'm able to go back in and I can make sure that I'm only seeing the people that I want to print the labels for. So when I'm all set, I'm happy with this is how this is all laid out. I can come down here and I can hit the next step here to complete the merge. I'm going to click this here and then we're going to see how this goes, and it's going to give me to this complete the merge option here. So I'm going to give you about another minute, and what we're going to do is I'm going to get you caught up to the complete the merge. So you should be here at the arranger labels. You've gone and you've inserted in the address block and you've updated all labels. You're going to go through, you're going to preview them, and then you're going to click next to come to complete the merge, and you should see this complete the merge. Right now, don't click anything on this right now because there's some important instructions about what to deal with this here. Take about a minute for that there, and if you have questions, let me know. All right, so hopefully everybody is caught up to this point here. Now you'll notice that on our mail merge wizard, we have two different options left. It says print and it says edit individual labels. And I'm going to tell you right now, never ever go and click print unless you are supremely confident that your mail merge is all set up and correct and ready to go. Because what print is going to do is, if I click print right now, it's going to take this document and it's going to send it to my printer automatic, like immediately. There's not going to be any step in between. Hit print, it starts printing. There's no kind of catch or no more checks in between that happening. And even though, as I mentioned, I've done a lot of experience with this here. I've taught this a bunch of times. I still will never just click print. I always like to have one final way to check that makes sure that everything is working properly. So don't click this print option over here. What you want to do is you want to click edit individual labels. And when you do this here, you're going to get this option here to merge to a new document. And so you can either choose, so it'll give you which records do you want to add into the new document. You want to put them all. In this case, we're going to say all. We want all the records from our Excel spreadsheet. You could just do the current record, which is just that first one that's visible right there. Or you can do a specific number. If I wanted to do from 15 to 22, I can just pull those records. In this case, we're just going to do all, and I'm going to hit OK. And what this will do is this is going to open up a new Word document. So you can actually see if I actually have, this was my one I was working with in the mail merge over here. This is the new one that it just created. You can see up here, this is document 1. This is now called labels 1. And what it did actually now is it's created a new document. I'm going to zoom out so you can kind of see the whole page, or actually both of the pages here. You can actually see, and it's gone through and it's created every single label onto the different pages. This is incredibly useful to have for when you're doing the mail merge, because first of all, I can now save this document. If I know that next month I'm going to be sending out all of these mailings again with all of these same labels, and there's not going to be any change in the labels or anything else, I can save this, and then next month I can open up this document and I can just go put my labels into the printer, hit print, and it prints them out just like they did the month before. This also allows me to see all of my different pages and make sure that, again, a nice quick check to make sure that all of the labels look right. All the addresses are arranged properly, they're organized the right way, all the names are correct on there. It allows me kind of another way to check and look over everything that's going on. I like to be sure when I'm doing, because labels aren't cheap, and so it's expensive if you make mistakes. So I always like every opportunity I can to prevent a mistake from happening. What do they say is that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure or whatever. Something like that. Finally, what I can do also here, the other advantages that this also gives me is that if what I would do the first time I'm printing these labels is I would print this first page. I would go to File, Print, and I would tell it just to print page 1, and I would print page 1 onto normal paper, into just regular printer paper, like I have here. And what I would do then is I would take that printer paper that would have all the labels information printed on it. I would take one of my sheet of labels and I would hold them up against each other and hold it up to the light, and I'd be able to see how my label lines up onto the labels, or how my label printout lines up on the labels there. Make sure that nothing's cutting off on the edges. It all fits within the labels. It's yet another check to make sure that I'm printing things correctly. Once I'm confident that everything's lined up properly, so everything lines up properly on there, I can then go and click print and print it onto the labels itself. So to reiterate, I am not going to save this, don't save. When you're looking at this last step in the mail merge here, you don't want to click print unless you're really sure that it's going to work. Click edit individual labels and it will it'll give you that page that you can kind of see and print everything out. Plus it then gives you a file that you can save and reopen and print again in the future when you're ready to do more labels. So any questions on any of that there? We're running a little low on time. So I just I'm going to do a quick run through what the manual mail merge looks like. because then you'll see that all the same steps that we did in the Mailmerge wizard, you can do individually separate as well too, and then kind of how to add fields into like a letter. So I'm going to go through this really quick. I apologize for how quick I'm going to go through on this here, but for some reason time has just kind of gotten away from me a bit on this class. So I'm going to go to my Mailmerge exercise file here. So this is just a document. I'm going to zoom in to make it a little easier to read. This is just a letter, a pre-written letter that has some information that we want to do a mail merge for. So just like before when I started the labels, so you can do this. You can write your letter that you want to do the mail merge onto. Once it's written, you can come here to mailings, just like we did before. And we're going to come over here and we're going to do start mail merge. And you can see I have my options here, letters, email messages. This is the same first step. When I did the step-by-step mail merge wizard, I had these same options, the letters, the email message, the envelopes, labels. So instead of doing it from the Mailmerge wizard over here on the right, I'm just going to choose it right from here. We're going to do letters. Okay, so now I've turned on the Mailmerge. We're going through the Mailmerge process. Moving from left to right on the ribbon up here, we're going to select recipients. This is that same next step that we saw on the Mailmerge wizard. Here's those same three options. I can type a new list. I can use an existing list. I can choose from Outlook context. We're going to use an existing list. And I'm going to go browse to my Excel file again. Here. I'm going to get the same select table that I did before. We want catalog requests. Make sure that my checkbox is checked here for column headers. Hit OK. And now I have, you can see it lit up the rest of the stuff on here, most of the stuff on my ribbon here. I have my edit recipient list. This is where I'm able to go through and see all the different recipients. So do the same work that I did before. And then over here is where you can see it has written down here, write and insert fields. This is where we're going to be able to put the different fields from our spreadsheet onto our letter here. So coming down, let's see, we're going to replace the first name of the person receiving the letter here. We're going to replace this here with the first name of the first name field in our spreadsheet. So I'm going to click on, there's an insert merge field right over here. And this is another one of these two-part buttons. If I click on the top part of the button, I get this little insert merge field, and I can choose which field I want. I'm going to choose first name and hit insert. And you can see now it replaced the name Angel there, or Angel, with first name in these kind of weird little brackets. I can do the same thing, close. I can do the same thing with the last name. We're going to select the last name. And instead of clicking the top part of the button, I'm going to click the bottom part of the button. I get this little menu here that shows all the different fields I have available. I'm going to do last name. We're going to come here. I'm going to replace this here with street address. We're going to replace this with the state. This with the, oops, sorry, I did that wrong. This is actually the city. So you can see I can change it by just highlighting it again and choose city. Highlight this and state. And then we can do zip code. And then down here where it says dear first name, I can go in and I can insert in first name. So now it's dear first name. So the letter will start dear first name of all the different people. And you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to thank you very much for inquiring about our wind products on. Because remember our spreadsheet had a request date, catalog request date on there. So I can actually put that date in here. And so I'm going to put on, and then in this, right here in the middle of the text, I'm going to go in and I'm going to insert in request date. So you can insert these fields anywhere that you want to inside the document. And you can, so I can put, I mean, I could put first name, I could put somebody's first name right down here if I wanted to. So now the first name's in there and it'll just pull it up. It's kind of a dumb place to put it, but I could do that if I wanted to. So once I've gone in and I've inserted in the fields that I want to put in, and Mailmerge does have this convenient little tool here that if I highlight merge field, it will actually highlight the things that show the mail merge on there. I can come over here and I can turn on preview results. So right now it's just showing my template letter that has all the different fields in there. I'm going to click preview results, and now what it'll do now is it'll actually now show me what the different information will look like. And I can walk through my different recipients to see how these different letters will look with the different information that's entered in. Once I'm happy with the way this all looks, I can come over here and do finish and merge. I'm going to click this here, and I'm going to get these 3 different options here. Once again, my warning, never go to print documents, because it's just going to send it right out to the printer. It's not going to give you any chance to do another check before it starts spitting things out of your printer. You could send email messages, so we can send it out to Outlook if we want to. We're also going to go here. We also have the edit individual documents. So this is that same way that like we had merge into a new document with the labels. If I do this here, I get my little merge to new document option here. And hit OK. And what this will do is this will open up Microsoft Word, a new Microsoft Word letters document. So you can see, once again, I have my Mailmerge one over here. Here's the new file. And this now has all of the different letters for all the different entries that we have on my spreadsheet there. So that, and then I can save this here. So I can save all my individual letters if I want to. I can also then print this and make sure that it all prints correctly. So that's mail merge with a letter. I apologize, that last section went through a little bit fast, but it's the process follows the same thing as it did with the mail merge wizard. We can just use the different individual tools on our ribbon up here. Letters you can treat, you can actually insert the different fields anywhere you want to in the letters. You can also do the mail merge wizard previous. You can also do the mail merge wizard with letters, and I recommend, until you're really, really comfortable with mail merge, use the mail merge wizard. Even when you're comfortable with the mail merge, use the mail merge wizard. It just makes things easier, and it's nice to kind of be walk through step by step to make sure you're doing everything correctly. So with all of that said, thank you for attending Microsoft Office Suite Integrated. We've covered a lot of stuff. We've covered a lot of Microsoft Office this month. If you've missed anything, everything is, all the recordings are available here on our YouTube channel. I am gonna be looking at repeating these classes probably again in May. Right now the library is looking at least out to May 20th. If not later. Right now, the governor's options for opening the state again is May 20th, so we're kind of following along those guidelines. So I will be continuing online instruction. There are going to be some new classes I'll probably be looking at and adding on. If you have any suggestions for something that you would like me to teach or show that you think would work well in this format, please add it to the feedback survey, and I'll show you the link for that there in just a second. Other than that, thank you very much for attending. On Thursday, I am doing Introduction to Web Building, HTML and CSS. So if you want to learn how to build a website, we're going to build a website from scratch, very basic website, but using kind of the foundational tools of the World Wide Web. That'll be from 2 to 4 on Thursday. Before you leave, I would appreciate it if you went and completed the survey here at projectoutcome.org/responses/50673. Let me know how you thought about what you thought about the class here, and please recommend anything else that you want me to teach, because I'm looking for some new stuff to kind of do and kind of spice things up a little bit while I'm doing these kind of online streaming classes. This is also available on the online technology classes here. Down under the Microsoft Integrated tab, there is a survey link here, and this should take you out to the survey as well too. So thank you very much for attending. I apologize that we ran a little bit late. I hope to see you Thursday, and I hope to see you again next month for anything new, or if you want to repeat anything that's been done here before. Thank you very much. I'll hang around for just a couple more minutes in case there's any questions. But other than that, if you have any more questions, please feel free to reach out to the library using our online chat off of our website, or emailing us at refdesk@fergusonlibrary.org. Have a good week, and stay safe, everybody. So it seems like there aren't any questions. I thank you again, and you have a good afternoon. Bye.